you know what? Actually, it's time to take a step back and remember why we're building by rotation.
Yeah.
You know, it's to do as much as possible with less, to be resourceful.
I've got something to say, you should hear it all. I'm happy to make time for your feelings.
Hi, and welcome to the Fashion Game Changers podcast. This podcast is dedicated to Fashion 2.0, which for us means an industry that is not only commercially profitable, but also sustainable for the planet. In every episode, we invite industry leaders to talk to us about the state of the industry and how their work is not only challenging, but disrupting the status quo by working on solutions that deliver both commercial and sustainable models to complex problems. I'm Bori, co-founder of The Note, a peer-to-peer platform that redefines pre-loved fashion by including brands in the circularity equation with the ultimate goal to close the loop of the fashion industry. Before we start, I want to thank Google for Nonprofits for their support and The Note for sponsoring this podcast. Now, I have the honor to introduce a true game changer. Today with me, I have Eshita Kabra, the founder of By Rotation, a platform for peer-to-peer lending of fashion that proves a few massively important points. First, that a fashion business can make money without producing more clothes. Second, that you can pull off a brand new, gorgeous outfit on a daily basis without actually buying new pieces. Third, that you can spend less money on your wardrobe whilst having a higher diversity. And last but not least, that you can transform your wardrobe into an asset that brings you financial returns. Now, we're in love with Eshita because she, as a woman and as a founder, is just as amazing as her business model is. So without further ado, Eshita, welcome to the Fashion Game Changers. We have been listening so much about your story. By Rotation is clearly a success. There is hardly a woman that we can stop on the street that hasn't heard or doesn't know what By Rotation is. So talk to me about not so much the story and why By Rotation is a good fit, because it's an incredible fit, but you transitioned from finance, a very well-paying job in UK, to By Rotation. How did this all happen?
Thank you so much, Bori, for having me on the podcast. I'm so honored to be on it. Yeah, I mean, when I founded By Rotation, it was a side hustle. For the first 6.5 years of my career, I worked in finance, investing in corporate bonds in particular, which is so different to what I'm doing today. And I really founded By Rotation because it was for a woman such as myself, someone who wanted access to nice, premium, sometimes designer clothing without paying, crazy price tags. Just to wear it for things like a holiday or a trip.
Yeah.
So the story really is that I was looking for a wardrobe for my honeymoon, and I started thinking, there's no fashion rental solutions in the UK, and none that actually connect women with each other.
This is beautiful, and it touches very well on the question which I want to follow up with, which is you had explosive growth. How much to this how much to this growth and beautiful community do you attribute to, the stars aligning, right moment, lack of solutions in the market, and on the other hand, very well-planned strategy that you have executed well?
I think it's definitely more of the latter, because we launched 5.5 months before COVID hit the global landscape, and no one needs to rent clothes because, we're all thinking about saving lives. So it all seemed quite, I suppose, materialistic and superficial with what we were doing at By Rotation. So everything that we have done has been very strategic. We say that community is our North Star, and it's great because it's great for our customers who feel very loved. It's great for the planet because people are much more conscious about the environment and the messaging that we put out there. But also it makes commercial sense because we're a peer-to-peer model. So it's really all about getting your customers to feel like they belong and they're part of our journey. And I think a lot of other, luxury brands and aspirational brands have often kind of ignored their customers, because they want that sort of elusive, exclusive aura around that brand. And I was like, I'm telling you as a customer, I don't like this at all. And that's how I really thought about what is the kind of brand that I would like to run and I would like to purchase from if I was still working, as a corporate woman.
Yeah. And you said you launched 5.5 months prior to COVID. Then COVID lasted for, solid year, definitely, barely any going out, but 2 years really. What was it like? So when did it become more than a side hustle? When did you feel comfortable to really quit this very well-paved path of finance and switch on to being a founder of a, not fashion startup because it's fashion tech, like fintech type of startup, which I'll cover on later. When did this moment happen? When did you feel comfortable to switch?
Yeah, I never wanted to quit because I just loved the the security of having a full-time job, a well-paying full-time job, and still going for Pilates and brunch and stuff like that on the weekend. But actually, it was really after we hit some qualitative and quantitative goals that I felt more comfortable and kind of realized that this isn't just a fun little thing I'm doing online. It could actually be the next big thing. Yeah. So not just a trend or a fad, but actually a real movement. So there was a set amount of transactions I wanted to hit. And that was outside my friend circle. Yeah. Because in the early days, I was just begging all my friends to use the app, list their items on the app. Well, it was not even an app. It was a web-based, very ugly platform. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't just within London as well, the transactions. So I started seeing transactions happen intra-city. I think the first intra-city transaction I saw was between two strangers in Norfolk and Manchester. Yeah. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, how do these people even know about Buy Rotation? Yeah. We have less than 500 followers on Instagram. Yeah. And, those kind of proof points really made me feel much more comfortable in taking this to the next level.
Was there someone, this is of the question we have prepared, but I resonate with the story of the note a little bit more because I was working on someone else and then I had a lot of things to sell. There was no platform available which allowed me to control kind of the prices, the negotiation, etc. So I built a website myself, listed all of my items, and then on my Instagram I shared that I'm selling these pieces. If you would like to purchase something, buy it. And then things just flew off. I was like, oh my god. At the same time, I was very afraid because I was like, oh my god, what if like no one buys a thing? I would feel so embarrassed in front of my followers that I'm listing things. And then actually it was my husband who was like, you know what, this could actually be really big because you're leveraging on everyone's fellowship and everyone's community to buy their items. These are people who have people that trust them, so if they share, it's going to be great. So you're going to be very smart about your marketing, etc. So it was actually my husband who pushed me to think a little bit more about this becoming a full-time thing. Was there someone in your life that was like, hey Eshita, this could be something really big?
Yeah, two people come to mind. So definitely my husband. He's been such a great coach, a mentor, whatever, all those sort of words that are out there, in just incredibly supportive and making me believe in myself and know that this was my calling. Yeah. Because I was like, no, I still want to have my full-time job. I want that comfortable life. And he was just like, you've always wanted to be an entrepreneur and, found a business of your own. Because my parents are entrepreneurs and I grew up in a very entrepreneurial environment. And he was like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is finally the thing that you were waiting to do all your life. So he really encouraged me and he really made me kind of be comfortable with the grays. Yeah. The other person, and a big shout out to her, is Florence. She's done our PR at Buy Rotation and, even represented me for the last 4.5 years. So I remember it was my first time ever to Soho House because, bankers are not allowed in Soho House. She invited me for coffee after work. And she was like, this thing that you're doing with Buy Rotation, I know we don't know each other, but I think it could be really big. And I'd be really interested in helping you do your PR. And she encouraged me and said, look, I don't think this is just for fun. If you're serious about it and, you want to invest in building the platform further, I will help you build a community and get the right press around it. And it's crazy because if you think about this sort of fashion media world, which we work alongside and adjacent to, people usually switch their PR agencies every 6 to 12 months. But we've actually grown together. Yeah. Both our businesses have flourished together. Yeah. And we're both solo female founders. Yeah. And I love that. Yeah. Like, I love our story and I love that we're actually really good friends because...
I actually got chills, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know anyone in the industry because I used to work in finance and finance has such a different crowd to people in fashion and media.
Yeah.
And fashion and media, I mean, I don't know what your experience has been.
Yeah.
It's a pretty difficult industry to get into.
Yeah.
And you just have to, I really felt I had to make my own tribe.
So I used to work in investment banking too back in 2015 in London, and I remember then I was working on my first startup, and then they were like, actually at first I didn't get hired, and then I got a call, I got hired, and when I finished the internship, they were like, do you want to join full time? And I said, and that with the signing in London, you have this huge bonus, like it was something around 50K signing bonus. And I was like, well, it would be great to have the security because I still had 1 year of education. And then the person who was doing the job offers like, if you say yes, I really need to count on you that it's a yes. And I said, you know what, I'm working on something. I'm very passionate about it. So I don't know if it's going to, to pick up. But if you want me to be honest, I'm just going to say no because I truly believe in pursuing this dream of mine. So actually, I've always been a co-founder. I've always, felt like I need the support system to help me go because running a startup is challenging. You are a founder and you're doing incredible. Tell me, how does it feel? Have there ever been moments where you felt lost, that you can't, that you can't just juggle it all? How does it feel?
God, I feel this every week. I feel so grateful that people actually, use buy rotation as a habit, and we're impacting their daily lives, their monthly plans, or even things like saving up for IVF.
Yeah.
People have done that by renting out things like their dresses.
Yeah.
I mean, who knew that owning pretty dresses would actually be a cure to something cancer has left you with. And I think that's been very powerful, and I get reminded of these incredible community stories, and that's when I feel like, what, there's a reason that there's a reason why this path that I've chosen is challenging. It's because it's so rewarding. So there has to be this mathematical equation where if things are deeply rewarding, then of course they're also going to be challenging. I do see a lot of things as mathematical equations, even more so now that I'm older.
Oh my God, I resonate with you so much. Actually, both of my kids are named after Leonardo Fibonacci because like math for me is
108,
1.61803, etc. So
I
one is Leo for Leonardo.
That's so cute. I love that.
Even my ring is engraved inside with the Fibonacci.
Oh, really? I love that. We were just talking about it last week with some of my investors about how it's just such a special number. And a lot of it actually shows up in Hinduism as well. Like we're apparently meant to do 108 round circles in the temple and things like that. Anyway.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I think, but I didn't know what I was doing when I was young. I'd go with my grandmother and she'd be like, we have to go do 108 rounds around this god statue. I'm like, why? And she's like, just do it.
Okay, there are a lot of things that we don't know why we should do, but nature, tells us the reasons.
But it does all feel like it makes sense as you get older. I don't know. I feel like I definitely have become more spiritual. And this journey has made me.
To be frank, the way I see, mathematics really plays a huge role in me. And if you ask me what is my church, it's nature. And within nature, I just see the most complex math ever. So for me, it's not, math, science versus nature. It is that nature is my math. So oftentimes, actually, when I have questions even for a business model, I try to reflect on nature and try to see, what in nature is a sustainable model. Because for me, nature has proven to be sustainable by itself. So that's my North Star. What is a model that if you do on a daily basis for perpetuity, it is going to, to give more rather than deplete. And so I actually wanted to ask you, you're wearing many hats. So it's a tech startup, it's a fashion startup, it's a fintech startup as well, in my opinion. Tell me about a moment, however, that has been truly challenging. Maybe a moment where you felt, has there been a moment where you felt your efforts are just not going to make it? And what kept you going?
2023 was really challenging, I think, for a lot of, not just startups, but just businesses in general, especially if you're in consumer discretionary. And one of the things that I felt was, we had raised, we had done institutional round with 3 venture capital firms in 2022. So I had this money that I had deployed into growth, hiring senior people, spending money on things like marketing campaigns. And I was just not seeing the growth that I thought we truly deserved. And that was quite frustrating. And it became even more demoralizing when the funding markets were very challenging, last year in 2023. And that's when the focus became more on sustenance and, break even and profitability, the true things that actually really make a business a sustainable business model. And I think that was very hard to navigate. And that's when I felt like, you know what? Actually, it's time to take a step back and remember why we're building by rotation. It's to do as much as possible with less, to be resourceful. So we went back to basics and thought about how we operated, even during COVID times, a very digital platform and community with also a team that is very agile and lean. So my team is less than 10 people. And people think we're much bigger because we have a large social following. We have more than 500,000 users on the app, but they don't realize it's actually a very lean operation, which shows you how scalable it is. But I think really proving the business model to be scalable was something that I think, was actually like a blessing in disguise during this challenging time. So this year we've quadrupled our revenues by cutting our monthly costs by 60%.
Good job.
Which is crazy. We're still very much just getting out of a recession, and there's, so much geopolitical stuff happening around us. So I'm very proud of our team. But, there's that saying, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. And I really felt that last year. And also I've been feeling it so far this year. And I love that about my team and myself. Like, we survive when things get really bad.
And I think this stands true
we thrive, not even survive.
I think this stands true for, on a professional level, but on a personal level too. It's when you lack not the resources, but when things get tough, it's when you get creative. It's when you really push the boundaries. And, we, for our business, we're fighting against, I'm not going to name them, but, there are unicorns, decacorns with like 300 million worth of budget, for marketing per se. And we have 2 million, to do everything for 2 years, team, marketing, etc. So we need to be really creative. And I want to go to fundraising and to balancing investor expectations versus an authentic product for the community in a little bit. But before I asked you what was the toughest moment. I want to ask you what was the moment that just really gave you the chills, that it is you felt like you're truly making a change? Is it exactly, the coming out of this hard moment from 2023, or is there another moment where you felt like, God, I'm really building something meaningful, this is my legacy, I'm leaving something truly meaningful behind? I'm not living, but still building something.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely the community stories, hearing of women who are paying for their IVF journey from the rental income that they've made by lending out frocks. It just, we've now got male partners telling their female partners, I want you to buy more clothes because I read apparently you can make £60,000 in a year just from lending out your clothes, And I think that's been really crazy. We've kind of changed the perception of contemporary and designer fashion altogether. We've showed you that buying a £200 dress, a quality piece of clothing, is actually a true asset that can be making crazy returns on your investment. So, we had this story that came out about a woman who bought a dress for £191 and she made over £1,300 by renting it out to others, and she still owns the dress. And that's when I kind of felt like, wow, this is all coming back to my background as an investment analyst. We've created an alternative investment class. And it's not Chanel bags and Hermes bags, but it's actually your Reformation dress, your Zimmermann dress. And I think that is really cool. That made me feel like it feels full circle.
For me, there's always this click moment when I hear a concept, because a lot of friends are coming to me with ideas, and and a lot of times I'm like, it's you're almost there, and I know when I hear a concept and when I see it, it's such a
it's usually very simple.
And when I first when I first learned about biorotation, it was a few years back, maybe 3-4 years ago. 3 years ago, 3 years ago. I was like, God, this is it. This is a really, really smart business model. It's very clear how it's circular. It's very clear how it's making money. It's very clear how you as a user just need this. Because for me, it's actually very important because we are solution builders. And for me, if you want to build a successful startup, first, it genuinely needs to solve a problem. It needs to not require you to do a trade-off with something else. So you should not trade off, let's say, accessibility or something else for you to use this solution. It needs to come at a lower cost. It needs to be accessible, as I said, and it needs to offer you even higher diversity than the status quo. And biorotation is getting all of these things.
Thank you.
So no surprise for me that it's growing like crazy. No surprise that you're funded. But as a founder myself, we have gone through a few funding rounds ourselves. I'm always afraid, and I've seen this in so many companies, it starts as an authentic solution because you build it for yourself. At the beginning it was small. It was, you didn't know if it was a side hustle. So it was very authentic, and you build this core group of cool people that love it. From there on, investors come in. They're like, here's $1 million. I want you to grow 400%, year on year. And all of a sudden you see a lot of products just transforming into this animal that is, a little bit more corporate, a little bit less personal, a lot focused on, buy now, act now. It's just, it's very easy to lose this authenticity in the product in chase of the reports that you need to bring to investors. How do you feel about this? Is there, this little bit of, limbo between tension, the one and the other?
Yeah, I'm very lucky in that, we have a great relationship with all of our investors. In fact, our relationships have been tested during this, pretty difficult time of 2023, and we came out stronger than ever. And the other thing I would really encourage all startup founders to really consider, and I think it unfortunately happens with female founders more often than with male founders or mixed founding teams, mixed gender founding teams, is that investors do kind of ask for a higher equity from female founders, especially in the earlier stages. So I'd say be very, very careful about how much you give up, because that can actually end up being problematic for you later down your journey of further funding and further success. And it helps, we both have a finance background, and that really helped me in kind of understanding this when we were first getting money, even in our pre-seed round, just from angel investors. I was very, very careful that I was not going to give up more than 10% of equity in very early stages of funding. And that's allowed me and my team to retain a very large majority of the business. We've seen that with some of the other players in the secondhand retail, rental resale space, where too much equity was given up, that the founding team members and the team is not motivated enough and doesn't really want to continue on the journey. And I think that's where, as you said, people lose interest, motivation. It becomes less authentic, less sincere. It's really about pursuing the investors' motivations for the company. And I think that's something I've been very, very careful about. I think for me, I would feel very successful if I have, personally successful, if I've built a company that I actually enjoy running every single day. And I feel like we've gotten to that stage finally this year where, the growth is completely organic. We've done no paid marketing year to date. We finished H1 without it. Grew our revenue by 4x, decreased our cost by 60%, and I get to work from anywhere. There's
great outfits.
Thank you, and great holidays, sometimes for work as well. But it's great because I'm networking with people all across the world, and that's my vision for biorotation. It shouldn't just be limited to the UK and US. It can be in every country of the world and every corner and city. And because it's a digital community, an additional solution, we don't have to sit in an office, and have strict rules about clocking in and out. And I think that's what has really built an amazing culture. We have incredible values as a team, as an organization, and as a community.
It's so powerful what you're saying. I definitely feel there are new rules to success. And it's touching on, not just lifestyle, but even how educated you need to be. We see a lot of successful people growing their communities who are just authentic, who pursue something very naturally without, all of these polished marketing strategies or etc. Touching on a little bit more on what you said about organic growth, I think Mark Cuban is having a new masterclass, and the pitch, like the short pitches, it's not a big achievement if you raised money, it's an obligation. And your focus should be on not spending it.
Yes.
You should make a business sustainable. So really amazing job on building the organic growth. And I truly feel this is only feasible if you build the right product. And the right product should be built without the necessity to spend a ton of money on, on marketing, which for me is wasted money. Yeah. So in its DNA, it needs to be programmed to grow by itself. So good job on building this. And I want to stay on the topic of fundraising, on being a female founder just a tiny bit more. It's actually, what is the percentage? I mean, there are different statistics, but between like 1% and 4% of all founders are female. At the same time, only 98% of startups make it. So this makes us a very, very, very small percentage. Of women in a successful funded startup. So, you're a unicorn by simply the statistic, but, not in a valuation sense yet, but I'm sure you would get there. But in a, how rare this happens case. So I'm curious to know, have you faced any ceilings as a woman in fundraising? At the beginning when you were starting, like in your first raise, VCs are not so male dominated these days, but you will talk to still more men than women in VCs.
Yeah, I mean, I think with venture capital, it's still like, unfortunately, a lot of the decision makers are still male. So you might have analysts and associates who are females. One of the things, again, since we both have, we've both worked in investments in our previous careers. One of the things I find quite interesting, and I have a lot of question marks around it, and I'd love to see some, track records that maybe prove my suspicion here. But a lot of the, people investing, especially a lot of the venture capital investors, especially in their early levels, so like analysts, associate, VPs, I'm not really sure if they fully understand investments.
Yeah,
I feel like some of them are great at spotting trends, especially the consumer investors. They're great at seeing which Instagram account is blowing up, which brand is blowing up on Instagram and social media. That's not enough.
Which you can do with the bot as well.
Yes, but that's not enough to be a venture capital investor. And if you look at anyone with a great track record, it's usually the seasonal experienced ones. Yeah. And they've done it because they were operators themselves, or they were investors in public markets who understood that actually a lot of these investments, be that early stage, they need to have a specific market that will grow. So it's not just based on fads and trends. And I'm just not sure. My experience with a lot of venture capital young investors has been they don't fully understand investment. And that's just the way that I've experienced it. If you look at my VCs that are on my cap table, all three of them are older investors. In fact, our lead investor used to be an equity portfolio manager. So really like thinking about long-term investments, which is what I did in my previous career. So we have a lot of shared values there. And that's what helped me, I think, raise that money from VC. Because the other VCs were just too excited about things like speedy grocery delivery startups during COVID. And I was like, you think this is a good business? You think this is going to be a huge target addressable market by 2030? I live in central London and I am a busy person and I would never get a speedy grocery delivery. So I don't know who these people are, who these magical people are. But it's just interesting, like the way that I, despite working in investments myself, the venture capital side of things, it's so opaque. It's all very much about who you know, which university you went to, which people you hang out with, which neighborhood you lived in, you grew up in. And, being an immigrant who moved to London for university, so like later on in my life, I didn't have any of these sort of, I guess, indicators that would make me an easy to back founder because, you know, I know her parents, or like, you know, I knew where she grew up. I knew a bunch of her friends. So yeah, we can trust her. And I found that pretty surprising and shocking.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd back you just because it's a great idea. You know, it's gaining traction. You said you invest in early stage. You said you're doing female office hours. You said you want to mentor and, you know, invest in female founders. You want to invest in diversity. You want to invest in climate action and sustainability. All these things are said. But when it comes to writing the check, it's probably just a bit early in the journey. Or
I want to see traction. I want to see revenue. Like,
and you're like, but you just backed a bunch of other random startups because all of the boys were talking about it. And you felt like, I don't want to miss out on the deal because all the cool guys are doing it. So I feel like with venture, what I noticed was, I pretty much noticed that unless there was hype around me and basically inauthenticity, I was never going to get that kind of crazy round. So instead, I looked for investors who truly just wanted to invest because they thought it's a good business that will drive investment returns. Not clout, because a lot of investors invest for clout, which is something that became more and more apparent to me in my third round.
But so just wanted to see the perspective of other female founders who have successfully raised, because, as I said, it is a rarity that we do have female founders who, you know, have an idea, go through the, you know, pre-seed, seed, etc. Really, congrats on going through it. As I said, you are a unicorn just by virtue of going through this process, and also very importantly that you are spending the money in a way which I see. I mean, not that, you know, my opinion is the holy grail, but I do feel the smartest business models are those that are not spending money on marketing. So really in love with everything you've built. So let's put a wrap on fundraising and on, you know, the professional life. I want to dive deeper in, you know, you as a person as well. Tell us about, you can take this in any direction you want, but for me, habits are something very, very exciting that really tell me more about the person's mentality and how you feel about life. Tell me about some of the best habits which help you get through the day and be a successful founder, be a successful wife, a friend.
I think like one of my best habits is, I don't know if it's a habit, but it's just the way that I am. I have a lot of energy. And I sometimes don't know where it comes from because, you know, I will have sleepless nights and I will be doing lots and lots of different things within a day or within a week. But yeah, I just have, I don't know, I'm excited about life. And, you know, of course I have my down days, of course I have my doubts. But I think when it comes to, you know, things that I truly love, and if I feel like I'm in a happy, comfortable environment, I'm mostly very excited and energetic. And, you know, I've been told by people that there's like a good energy and like aura around me, which invites people to, you know, want to get to know me better and want to know my story better and know and support by rotation. So I think that's been something that's been, it's really helped by rotation. It's really helped the business as well. And personally, it's helped me kind of attract my tribe, which I think is very important. What is another one of my best habits? I tend to say yes a lot as well. I think that's an extension of it, you know, and by saying yes to things that, you know, sometimes feel like, why am I even doing this? I've realized you don't see it right away, but maybe like a year later even, you realize, oh, I'm so happy I did that because it amounted to this opportunity. You know, that's some of the biggest, craziest things that have happened to Birotation and me have happened because I met someone randomly at a random event whom back then I thought, again, this is not worth my time. What am I doing? Like, I didn't learn anything new. And it all sort of works out in the end. So I really believe in the butterfly effect. It will all make sense, all these different experiences.
And really a shout out to you to saying yes to us because, you know, we met randomly. Well,
I'll tell you why I said yes.
Yeah, tell me.
It's because, and it's something that I would really encourage to anyone else listening in, you know, an aspiring founder or someone who's like early on in their journey. When I spoke at the Global Fashion Agenda in Copenhagen, you asked a question on the panel that I was on that was very complimentary to Birotation and to me as a founder. And I thought, that's very kind of this person to be so nice because I've never been to this conference before. People here don't really know me. And then I just thought, I would love to see if there's something I can do in return. And I do think things like that matter.
Thank you so much.
What's that saying? You reap what you sow. And I think that's karma and things like that are very, very important to me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing that.
For us, it meant a lot. You were one of the reasons why we came the whole way to Copenhagen as well, because we really wanted to meet you.
That's very sweet.
I mean,
that's
Anna
very
will confirm.
kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's very sweet.
So we were like, so I was
That's very
looking,
sweet.
I was hardcore looking for 3 people. So you were
That's very sweet.
so you're one of the people. So we knew clearly where it was your panel. We were trying to be around. I spotted you, like if you remember when you were walking, you were like, wow,
that's very kind.
Eshita.
But see, like you also have to go where you are loved.
Yeah.
And then when I heard from you guys, I was like, I'd love to see if there's something I can do to support these guys in their startup.
Honestly, until the end, we thought, she said yes at the conference because it was, very busy, very fast. So we were like, can you join the podcast? You were like, yeah, sure. And we were like, probably she would say no, now that we are going to communicate it via mail. So it says a lot. I mean, it says a lot that you've grown to where you are, that you have this huge business going. You can be in 100 places. You said you were with, the celebrity. I'm not going to mention her name, but like last night you were with a celebrity, and today, you are not with celebrities. You're with us. So it genuinely shows a lot about the person you are supporting as well, other women supporting other businesses, and showing up. And hopefully, I sincerely hope that, as you said, this yes to this podcast is going to, give its fruits, and
I'm sure it will.
And pay back.
Yeah.
So thanks for
It's already giving me a lot of great energy and vibes for the day ahead.
Thank you.
I think actually the other thing I feel more and more is energy is so important. Yeah. And I think you'll meet so many people in this world and while you're building the startup, right? But if you connect with someone on you have the same sort of energy, I do think incredible things will happen there.
I usually have this annoying habit whenever I'm at lunch with friends, especially those who I see rarely, or dinners. I always ask them, okay, so what do you want to achieve by the end of the year? What do you want to happen to you? Because I also do believe in a way, just not visualizing, but being clear, actually reflecting on what you want for life to bring to you and what are you grateful for. So actually tell me 3 things that you're very grateful for, and then say you had limitless budget and talent, what would be the vision for you and for Biorotation in, let's say, 10 years, which is really puts us in the position to go beyond the short term and the expected happenings.
Well, I love Airbnb. So I'll do the latter question first. I love Airbnb. So for me, I'd love to see Biorotation in every corner of the world, in like a little village in the English countryside where people are saying, hey, what's your username on Biorotation? Because I really want to rent your luggage or your dress or your furniture or whatever. So I'd really love to see that. And that's what I want Biorotation to become, the champion of the sharing economy. And in terms of the things I'm grateful for, the 3 things, well, I'm obsessed and so happy to have my baby, which is it's my dog, Saffron.
Because I was like, I didn't hear.
He's better than, I think he's better than a human baby, I think, personally. But I'm so grateful. He brings so much joy. I think dogs are very sensitive. They know when you're having a bad day, and he makes everything okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm a dog person, so I absolutely confirm.
And then I guess the second is really my husband. He's been such a pillar of support. I think this is a very hard journey, and my family doesn't live in the country. And just having him really help me with the challenging things, which sometimes I don't want to face. It's really great. And he's my biggest cheerleader. And I think I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without him. And then thirdly, I'd say my team. My team is just fantastic. Like the way that I can fully trust them and the way they just get on with it. And I don't even know when I find out the incredible results we've done. I think that's very hard to find. And I'm proud that I've maybe had a small role to play in nurturing them.
Yeah. This is beautiful, and part of my team is here, so I also want to take a second to say how grateful I am, because having a beautiful team is really a game changer for me, because you're spending actually the majority of your time with people working. So for me, it's about an absolute blessing to go to work every day, and my husband as well. I mean, it's thanks to him that I started our business, and no, I mean by our, not with me and my husband, but yeah, he has been a great cheerleader. So definitely, I would put this as one of the factors of success, that at home you have someone who is championing you at work. And I personally find it very, very powerful. So on this beautiful note, I want to ask you one final question. You are a fashion game changer, a favorite fashion game changer of ours. Who is a fashion game changer that you would love to chat to and that we should invite to our podcast?
I'm going to say a couple of people,
Yeah,
but they'll
do.
come together probably. Yeah. It's Scott and Brett Staniland, twin Scott and twin Brett on social media. They're incredible. They are fashion models. They are, Brett's got a doctorate, and they're just champions of sustainability within fashion. Brett very famously went on Love Island and refused to wear any of the fast fashion brands that they were making him wear on the show. And I think he's done such a great job blending into, couture fashion weeks, while also telling you how terrible fast fashion is for the planet.
Yeah.
And I think really putting your name to that, and obviously that, garners a lot of hatred as well from these corporates and people who buy from them. I think, honestly, thanks to them for doing that, because I'm not an activist, and the way that I like to, contribute to the solution is create the business around it. But it's thanks to their voices, because it's really brought a lot of awareness even to myself in my journey to sustainability.
Feel guys invited. We're going to extend a personal invite.
Please do.
Do you want to say someone else, or
yeah, I think they'll be great.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your time. It has been a true, sincere pleasure to chat to you and to get to know you a little bit more. And I do hope we get to spend more time together reflecting on business and personal matters.
Definitely.
You're such a beautiful soul. So thank you so much for joining us and seeing us once again. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to explore more of the episode of the Fashion Game Changers. Comment if you want us to invite someone specific, as well as thoughts, questions that you might have for us or for Eshita as well. And we would love it if you support us. Of course, what are the standard things? Share, like, whatever you think helps us. So thank you so much, and we'll see you soon with another episode of the Fashion Game Changers.